Ever wonder how you can improve your FPS, input delay, and ping? This is the ultimate guide to optimizing your PC for best performance in Fortnite Chapter 5 Season 3. So we're going to start off with the absolute basics, and then we'll move on to the more complicated optimizations. To start off with the absolute basics, all you have to do is open up the Epic Games Launcher and go to your library. Press these three dots on Fortnite, go to Manage and make sure that you enable these launch options and type in No Splash and use all available cores. No Splash disables use of splash image when loading the game, but use all available cores actually forces all of your cores to work. This is definitely going to be the most useful one here. The next really simple thing you have to do is just press the three dots again, and instead of going to Manage, you go to Options and then make sure you have pre-downloaded stream assets on. Once you have this checked, you'll notice way fewer stutters. It's so good! Also, before you boot up any game, just make sure you check for updates, because this will really get rid of your stutters every single time. You could do this, or you could just pause your updates forever. For the next really simple optimizations, we're just going to make sure that you have the optimal Fortnite settings. Once you're in, go to your settings and just make sure you set your frame rate limit. I have a 165Hz monitor, so I would either use 165. Just make sure you're comfortable with your 3D resolution. I'm completely fine with 100. But if you want to play at a lower resolution, you could lower it to 70 at the most, or the game will start to look grainy. But the lower you go, the smoother your game gets. And just as a side note, if you bring it to 0, it's the same thing as 100, because it's not possible to even have 0. The lowest you can go is 1%. Make sure everything here is lowest and off. This one really affects your performance. And yeah, that's pretty much for these settings here. What you're going to do now is to switch to DirectX 12, and then we're going to adjust those settings. Now that we're booted up in the game with DirectX 12, as you can see here, we're going to have a few more settings here. So you're just going to make sure that you bring this quality preset to low. Make sure everything here is off and lowest. GPU crash debugging, make sure this is off. It even says that it's going to come at a small performance cost, and make sure NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency is on Plus Boost. And yeah, that was pretty simple too. Just press apply and then you can switch back to performance mode. Simple Windows optimization. Before we start doing any of these tweaks, make sure to create a restore point just in case your performance gets worse somehow. Now that we're done with the Fortnite settings, we're going to just make sure that your Windows settings are all perfectly optimized. Again, really basic stuff. Let's just start with core isolation. This is really simple. Literally, just have a memory integrity off. Your device may be vulnerable, but for me at least, it made my FPS a lot more consistent by turning this off. I don't really notice when I was testing the FPS before, but yeah, try it on and off. It depends on the PC. Sometimes you won't get an impact at all, but usually having it off gives you more FPS and fewer stutters. The next thing you're going to do is to just hop into Device Manager, and here we're going to go into our system devices and scroll down until you see the high precision event timer. Just disable this. I remember some people said it makes your device slightly more unstable. So again, just test it out. But the general consensus is that it gives you better performance. Next, we're going to do hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. So we're just going to hop into graphics settings, then change default graphics settings. Make sure that both of these are on. If you don't have optimizations for windowed games here, you don't have to worry about this. But if you do, definitely leave that on. But then in here, just make sure that you have Fortnite added and make sure you set it in high performance. This is where you're going to find your game. Go to your drive where the game is installed. For me, it's on my C drive, and go into Program Files, then it's going to be Fortnite Game Binaries, Win64, and then you just add Fortnite Client 164 shipping. Then you're just going to press Option, and as you can see, I set it on high performance. Next thing we're going to look at is Game Mode. Now, if you're still stuck in 2012, you probably think that game mode is bad, but literally, the only thing it does is disable some services in the background. So if you want just fewer services running in the background and more performance, then leave game mode on. If you don't want to listen to me, then sure, you can have this off. The next thing we're going to do is go to Startup Apps. A lot of people just neglect this, so just make sure you have everything that you don't need off. But yeah, I'm going to leave this off so that it doesn't impact my PC. But yeah, for pretty much everything else, just have all of these startup apps set to off. You can also go into your task manager and go to your startup apps here, and you can disable them using your right click and pressing disable. Yeah, just a side note, you're able to do it here as well. We're going to go into our privacy settings. Just make sure all of these are off. And if you're enjoying this video so far, definitely smash the like button. We're going to go into our privacy settings. Just make sure all of these are off. And then in inking and typing, you can have this off as well. The most important part here is diagnostics and feedback. Just make sure everything here is off. And if you had any of these on, you probably sent diagnostic data already. So you can just go and delete that. And then in activity history, just turn this off because who cares? One really simple way of removing background services from your PC is really simply going to your installed apps. Some people neglect this because they think that the main reason you do this is to free up storage. And if you guys don't know already, freeing up storage does absolutely nothing as long as you have at least 10 to 15% of your SSD space left. You won't notice any performance difference until you get to that point, but if you uninstall all of these random apps that you don't need, you'll have fewer services running in the background and just fewer processes that your CPU has to go through. So, if there's some random thing that you don't know what they do, just don't uninstall it because it's probably something important on your PC. Next, really simple thing is to hop into NVIDIA control panel and go to your 3D settings and literally just copy everything that I have here for best performance. If you want an in-depth dive on what each setting does, you can check out Corvi Tech's video. You can watch this video in the description. Well, that's the end of the video. In this video, I just did a bunch of tweaks, but if you want to do even more optimizations, definitely check out this video right here.